This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Hey everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you David Yazzie, thank you Ezra, thank you Simon, thank you Yonatan. This week's Parsha Ki Teitzei, a lot to learn. We're going to learn one lesson because we started very late. One lesson. We heard our whole lives about this cruel, evil, annoying nation called Amalek, right? Amalek with the Ayin. Today we're going to learn in short, what was so evil and what was so bad Amalek that we have a mitzvah to make sure we erase them from the face of the earth. This nation called Amalek. This Parsha and it says like this: Zechor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Always remember what Amalek did to you b'derech when he left B'tzetzach Mitzrayim, we left Egypt. Asher ka'acha b'derech vayezenev becha kol nechashim acharecha. All the weak ones they ran after, they took over. V'ata ayefe, again you were weak and you were tired, meaning we were not living Mitzrayim. V'lo yireh Elokim. Amalek were not fearful of Elokim, of Hashem. You hear those words, Ezra? What was so bad, Amalek? What was their punishment? You have to make sure, Timche et zecha Amalek, totally erase any remembrance of the nation Amalek, mitachat hashamayim, from the face of the earth, lo tishkach, never forget. David, what was so bad about this nation of Amalek that we have a mitzvah to totally erase this nation from the face of the earth? So much that Hashem's chair of malchut, of royalty, is never shalem, is never whole, until Amalek is totally destroyed when Mashiach is going to come. What was so bad about this nation? What was so bad? So the Pasuk says, Simon, Pasuk says, V'lo yireh Elokim. They did not fear Hashem. Did you hear that? Sounds like a simple one. They did not fear Hashem. Now if you think about it, the Mefarshim say this is an unbelievable lesson. Amalek is the worst nation in the world. Hashem literally hates them. Just to show you how much Hashem doesn't like Amalek, even the Egyptians killed a lot of Jews when we were slaves in Mitzrayim. At the same time, when finally we got some revenge in the Mitzrayim, while they were drowning in Kiryat Yam Suf, right? Klal Yisrael started saying Shira, like finally the Egyptians, these Nazis, Yimach Shemam, are going down in the sea. What did Hashem tell the Malachim who started singing? What did Hashem tell the Malachim? While the Egyptians are drowning, stop singing. Why? My creations that I created are dying and you're singing, you're giving praise. You want to be happy your enemies fell? That's okay, that's perfectly fine. You should always be happy that Ra, the evil, is uprooted. But to celebrate your enemy's downfall, that we don't do. So much that if you notice in Asher Betecha that we say every single day, it has all the letters, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dal, Hey, right? Every pasuk through the alphabet. Which letter is missing out of Asher Betecha? Nun. The letter Nun, if you notice, we don't have an Asher Betecha. That letter Nun. Why? Because that letter, says the Gemara Bachot, is talking about the Nefilah of the Oivim, the falling of the Oivim. And David Melech says to celebrate and to praise the fact and really like dance out of joy, like Asher Betecha, that my enemies fell, that we don't do. That's why we don't have Nun and Asher Betecha, David, because we don't celebrate our enemies' downfall. You want to be happy, it's one thing. So the Mitzrayim are drowning, and Hashem said you don't celebrate it. Amalek, not only does Hashem say, like, erase them, Hashem says, I don't want to hear about them. I don't want any remembrance of the nation Amalek. Why does Hashem hate Amalek so much? Why does the Torah tell us as Jews, we cannot have this nation around us? So the Pasuk says, Lo yireh Elokim. They did not fear Hashem. Now a person might think, not fearing Hashem is a small avera. It's like a person, like Rabbi Chana Wasserman says, you have a person, he's an okay guy, but he doesn't have the extra ma'ala, meaning he doesn't know how to be calmer, he gets a little too angry. Or you have a guy that when he makes brachot, he's not so good at it. Or you have a guy that when it comes to cheating in business, he's 85% okay. Over here says the Sefer Zohar, says Rabbi Chana Wasserman based on the Zohar, a person who doesn't have Yirat Shamayim, it's not just he's a human being that doesn't have that extra plus, extra ma'ala of having Yireh Elokim, fearing Hashem. A human being, an Adam that doesn't fear Hashem, is not a Ben Adam, is not a human being. Did you hear those words based on the Zohar? Yirat Shamayim, a person of, what defines a human being? You know what defines a human being? A person that's fearful of God. A person that has Yirat Shamayim defines what an Adam is. Because if you notice, by the way, the Zohar says, if you notice, everything has a purpose to serve somebody else in the world, every creation. The ground is here to serve the plants, right? And then the plants are here to serve the animals and human beings, to eat. The animals are also here for service for human beings, whether we eat them or whether we use them to ride them, whatever it is, for work. So says the Zohar, so what are human beings meant for? If the ground is for the plants, if the plants are for the humans and the animals are for the humans, Humans, where do they go to? How do you continue the chain? Who are humans here to serve? Says the Zohar, Hashem. A human being's, the epitome of a Ben Adam in this world is to praise Hashem. So if you have a person that doesn't fear Hashem, that doesn't praise Hashem, it's not that he's a person who happens to be, he doesn't fear God. No, he's not a person. Do you get the difference? Not having fear of Hashem defines the whole person, whether he's a human being or he's not a human being. It's like an extra credit type of thing. And I'll tell you another chidush on the Zohar. The Zohar says, when Hashem created the world, how did he create Adam HaRishon? We know the animals were created first. So says the Zohar, Hashem took from a few animals, he took their tchunot, he took their powers that they have in them. Let's see, he went to the tiger, he took some tigerness. He went to the lion, he went to the eagle, he went to the elephant, he went to the bear. And he took all those different energies from different animals and he put it inside Adam HaRishon, the first human being. So it says the Zohar, you know what that means if you think about it? If you're honest with yourself, that means the human beings are the biggest animals in the world. Right? It might sound offending, but according to the Zohar, the Heilige Zohar, if we have in us all these different energies of different animals, that means we have the power to seriously destroy the world. Destroy the world. Says the Zohar, what handcuffs the hands of a human being not to destroy the whole world from all the power that it has? What keeps the human being down not to only bring destruction to the world? Yirat Shamayim, fear of Hashem. Fearing God are the handcuffs of a human being not to destroy the world. So a human being is the most powerful person when his hands are tied, when he has fear of Hashem. When he fears Hashem and then he utilizes the powers that he has to help the world and build the world, human beings are the best creations of the world. Did you hear that? But when a person doesn't have Yirat Shamayim, he doesn't fear Hashem, he doesn't have the handcuffs that hold him down not to sin, he's going to use all the energy that he has to destroy the world. And that's a very scary thing. It says the Zohar, it's a very scary thing. Yirat Shamayim is not extra credit. Fearing Hashem defines a human being. Everything is about fearing Hashem, fearing Hashem, fearing Hashem. That's why by Amalek, if you want to describe how evil Amalek is, all you have to say is, Lo Yireh Elokim. They did not fear God. They're the worst nation ever because all the nations of the world at that time when we left Egypt, because of all the miracles that happened, all the nations in the world were terrified to mess with the Jews. You want to wait 20, 30 years, you want to wait 100 years, then fight the Jews, that's one thing. But at that moment when everything was still heated and everything was still raw, all the miracles were still obvious that Hashem is helping out the Jews and there's a God in the world. There was breaking news all over the world. The splitting of the sea and the 10 Makot in the Egyptians, so all the nations were scared. Amalek says, you know what? I'm still not scared. I'm going to fight the Jews right away. So the Torah says, they did not have fear of Hashem. Although they knew God exists, they said, we don't want to hold of this God thing so much, we're going to fight the chosen people. We're going to fight the nation that Hashem chose to represent them in the world. We're going to fight them. And Hashem says, that's the worst thing possible. That is the worst thing a human being can do. To come to my world, enjoy from my world, and then tell the whole world, let's not serve God. We're not talking about atheists. Amalekim did not deny that there's a creator to the world. There is a creator to the world. They agreed. But to tell me that now we have to serve God, says Amalek, no way! I don't want to hear this God thing. Nada. Let me do whatever I want. And that Hashem says, that is the worst thing possible. And that's why it means that Hashem's malchut, Hashem's royal chair, which means His royalty over across the whole world, will never be full as long as you have the mindset of the nation of Amalek. The mindset, in our days, 2020, we have such people. For those who follow the news, we have people that have the mindset of Amalek. What's that mindset of Amalek, Ezra? The mindset of Amalek is, we don't want authority. We don't want God in the picture. Like I just read in a recent article, where you had a Democrat senator, okay, just here in the country, to show you what's going on. They went to court that they want to take, and God do we trust from the dollar bill. They don't want that. Now, why don't you want it inside? He says, I don't want this God thing anymore. I don't want to hear it anymore. It bothers them when you mention Hashem, Hashem, Hashem. They despise Hashem so much. That's pure evil. That's Amalek. I'm not sure if they're themselves a nation of Amalek, but the mindset of Amalek is raging all over the place, all over the place. And Hashem's malchut is never 100% until we fight that mindset. And whose job is it to find that mindset and to declare to the world and educate to the world that Hashem is here? Whose job is that? Us, the Jews. And who says that? The Rambam. You know, the Rambam wrote a Sefer Mitzvot. right? The Rambam wrote a Sefer Mitzvot about what a Jew has to do, all the commandments. So the Rambam writes straight up, the 9th mitzvah, okay, we have 630 mitzvot. The 9th mitzvah, the Rambam says, Hi shetzivanu lekadesh Hashem. Every Jew has a commandment that he must mekadesh Shem Shemaim. He must teach the world and educate the world that Hashem is here. Although you're going to have enemies that are going to put you down, they're going to tell you, stop with this God thing. You honestly think Hashem is the one who gives you parnasa? You honestly think Hashem is the one who gives you a wife and children and health? You honestly think Hashem controls the whole world's leaders? They're going to fight you. They're going to belittle. They're going to make fun of you. They're going to tell them, stop, be kofar, please deny God. Stop with this nonsense. A person who is a real trusting of Hashem, a person who has real emunah, it's going to be a test, but his job is going to have to be to fight them and be mekadesh Shem Shemaim, to make sure to educate the world Hashem is here. So our job as Jews is very simple. Our job as Jews is very, very simple. Our job is to show the world and educate the world. There is a creator here and there is a God that controls everything. How do you declare that? When you keep Shabbat, or let's say you're in the office and you make a bracha, whether you have Jews or non-Jews. You make she'akol niyabed v'an, a cup of water. You know what you just did? You're mekayim this mitzvah. Because when you make a blessing on water, you're thanking God. And people are going to say, oh wow, who's he thinking? Oh right, there's a God. Oh right, there's a God. You just did a mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem. These things are not small. A person goes to shul. A person goes to learn Torah. All these things of Kiddush. A person wears tzitzit. A person wears a yarmulke at work. A person doesn't cheat in business. And he knows that he's a Jew. And he's declaring Hashem as the world. He did this mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem. And he pushed away this mindset of Amalek to deny Kadosh Baruch Hu as much as possible. You are fighting and you're pushing away Amalek. Now Midrash tells us, and I'm going to end with this. The Midrash says, what is the epitome of Ra? You want to know what's evil in the world? What's considered evil in the world? So a person's going to say, Al-Qaeda is evil, Hamas is evil. Yes, they're all evil. Yamach Shema v'zicham. Any person that murders or damages is evil. But what's pure evil? The Midrash tells us, pure evil, koach hara b'briya, the real ra, real evil in the world, in creations, ukocho shel Amalek, shehu ikar koach hara shebebriya. All evilness comes from the core, from the shorish, from the root. What's the root of all evilness in the world? Amalek. Amalek. All evilness in the world comes from the koach, from the power of the root of Amalek. And what does the Torah tell us? What did Amalek do already? What did he do? They didn't pay their bills? What did they do already? They murdered 1 million people? No, what did they do? They did not have Yirat Hashem. They did not fear Hashem. Fearing Hashem is not a small thing. A person's goal in life should be sho'ef. My priorities and my ambitions in life is to try to fear Hashem as much as possible. What does it mean to be Yireh Hashem? Yirah comes from the same word as lirot, re'eh, to see. The more a person works on his emunah, the more a person works on his bitachon, the more a person educates himself to understand the reality that Hashem is here, the more fear he's going to have of Hashem. Once you understand Hashem is next to you, that's when you're going to start fearing Him. Yirat Hashem means to understand Hashem is in charge. Yirat Hashem doesn't mean to be scared of Hashem. It's going to happen automatically. Yirat Hashem means being aware that Hashem is here. And I'm going to end off like Chacham Ovadia says. Chacham Ovadia says, listen up, David Yaz and Ezra. Chacham Ovadia says, what is Yirat Hashem? You know what Yirat Hashem is? Yirat Hashem is when a person recognizes that he's walking in the palace of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Yirat Hashem means when you recognize and you're aware that you are a prince walking on earth, you are a prince walking in Hashem's palace. When you recognize you're in Hashem's palace, when you recognize that you're a prince and you're a son of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, that's when you have Yirat Shamayim. Yirah means to see. It means that Hashem is here more vivid than other people. It means you get the reality that Hashem controls the world. Hashem gives parnasah. Hashem gives health. Hashem gives food, children and wives. Everything is the Kadosh Baruch Hu. The trees, the sun, the air, everything is Hashem. God, 24/7. That's what Yirat Shamayim means. When you recognize Hashem is here, you're going to fear Him. And then you're going to reach the ultimate level of declaring to the world that Hashem is here and uprooting Amalek. Make sure you build in Yirat Shamayim. Because the more Yirat Shamayim a person has, the more of a Ben Adam he is. Now we know what a big tzaddik means. You know what a big tzaddik means? Big tzaddik doesn't have to mean that he's a rabbi of 1,000 people, or he has a yeshiva of 10,000 people. Big tzaddik also doesn't mean necessarily it's a guy who learns all day. A big tzaddik means that he's a big human being. We call him Adam Gadol. What does it mean, a big human being? It means that the Adam Shabo, the human being in him, is in a very big scale. What does that mean? It means that his Yirat Shamayim, his fear of Hashem, is a very high level. The higher level of Yirat Shamayim, the more he recognizes everything is Hashem, the bigger the person he is. So what does a big tzaddik mean? What does it mean, Adam Gadol? It means a person that has a high level of Yirat Elokim and understanding the presence of a Kadosh Baruch Hu is here. Make sure you work in Yirat Shamayim. Always learn Musar, especially in time of Vilu, Rabbatai. Times of Vilu, a person has to learn Musar. Learn Musar, remind yourself, what are we here for? What in the world are we here for? Are we here to make money 24/7? Our ambitions is to make money 24/7? No, our ambition in life is to get closer and closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Our job as Jews is a full-time job. When somebody is going to ask you, what do you do for a living? No, tell them I'm a dentist, I'm a doctor, I do real estate, I lease cars, I'm a camera guy, I'm a photographer. No, that's not what you do. You know what you do for a living as a Jew? Full-time job. You're here to declare Hashem runs the world. That's what a Jew's job is. And you know who says that? You know who says that? Yonah Hanavi. And we're going to end with this. We know Yonah Hanavi was in a boat. David Yazzi, listen. We know Yonah Hanavi was in a boat, and the boat started rocking. Okay, there was a big sufa, there was a big storm. So the goyim in the boat started asking, the non-Jews asked, okay, it's somebody's fault here. So they asked Yonah, they were not sure that he was Jewish. We're not sure Yonah was Jewish. So the pasuk says like this. They asked him, what's all this bad stuff happening to us, this whole sufa, the storm? Why is it happening lanu? What is your job? What do you do for a living? And where are you from? Who are you? What's your land? Which nation do you belong to? They told Yonah Hanavi. They were not aware that he's Jewish. Listen to what Yonah Hanavi answered to them. He says, you asked me what my job is. You asked me what I do for a living. Ivri anoichi. I am a Jew. Ve'et Hashem Elokei Hashemayim, and the creator of the world, the heavens and the world, Ani yireh, I fear. Asher asa et hayam ve'bashar, I fear the same God that created the oceans and the dry land and the Yabashah. You ask me what I do for a living? Ma melachtecha, Yonah, tell us, what do you do for a living? What does he answer them? Ivri anoichi, I'm a Jew, ve'et Hashem Elokei Hashemayim, Ani yireh, I fear Hashem. That's what I do for a living. Do you hear the lesson? Do you hear the lesson? You're a Jew. What do you do for a living? No, you're not a doctor. I fear Hashem. I work for Hashem, full-time job, 24/7. It happens to be, I got to go to work. So I lease cars, or I'm a doctor, I'm a dentist, or real estate, or a jeweler, whatever it is. But what do you do for a living? Full-time job, declaring Hashem is in the world and uprooting this mindset of Amalek that are trying to fight us as much as possible. And the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, before Mashiach is going to come, the last fight is going to be about that fight. You're going to have people that are so good, and you're going to have people that are so evil. What defines, in the times before Mashiach, what defines the good people that are so good, and what defines the bad people that are so bad? The Gemara in Sanhedrin. So the Chafetz Chaim says, before Mashiach is going to come, the people, the bad people, are going to be so wicked and so corrupt, or the way I call them, mad, annoying people, like really annoying people. They're going to fight Hashem to the next level. They're going to just bother the whole concept of Hashem. They're going to make fun of it. They're going to be like, oh, stop with the nonsense, stop with this God thing. They're going to be so evil. What it means is, says the Chafetz Chaim, they're going to fight Hashem. They're going to make sure in the streets, you're going to knock out the whole God idea. Do whatever you want. No authority. Whatever your heart feels, that's the right thing to do. There's no more right and wrong. You know what defines right and wrong in America? Whatever you want to do defines right. Whatever you don't want to do defines wrong. That's the new mindset of the Western society in America. That's wrong. That's called pure evil. That's evil. That's how bad the people are going to be. So it says the Chafetz Chaim, what's the good people? Says the Chafetz Chaim, because it's going to be so bad in the streets, because the bad people are so corrupt, the people that are still good, the people that still serve Hashem, and the people that are still saying God exists in the world, are considered so good that because of them, Mashiach is going to have to come. You hear that? The good people are going to be so good because they're going to stand up for Hashem because the streets are so against the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Anybody who fights the streets and declares Hashem is here, he keeps Shabbat. He's a modest person, men or guys, modest person outside. He wears a yarmulke, he wears tzitzit, he keeps kosher. He does all the stuff that Torah says you got to do. He's Mekadesh Shem Shamayim, and he's fighting evil in the world. And because of such good people, Mashiach is going to have to come. You heard that? Thank you so much for listening.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.